Go ahead.
Yes, sir.
I am Herman's Fauntleroy. Today is March 9, 2007. I shall be interviewing Mr. Willis Brown in reference to the civil rights era in the city of Petersburg, and some of which took place at that time, and his knowledge of what took place as he knows it at that point. Mr. Brown graduated from Peabody High School, which I think is critical in this situation because we had segregated schools at that time, and he was a part of that system. Mr. Brown, do you have any memory of violation of civil rights, your civil rights in the city of Petersburg, and what do you recall the situation was during that time?
Well, growing up in Petersburg, I experienced this as a young child, shopping downtown, in the department stores. I always observed water fountains, which was marked colored water fountains in certain stores, and I didn't understand what that was all about. However, I have occasion to go there to take a sip of water, and it always seemed normal. But in my mind, I always wondered, why was it marked as such? That was one of my earliest recognition of it.
At that time, when you noticed that was the situation, and you tasted the water and you didn't see any difference in it, so to speak, what type of effect or what type of impact did that have on you as a young child growing up under those conditions?
Well, I had great interest in it, what was going on, but being young, I didn't ask anybody. I just thought that was a fact of life. That was the way life was. And I didn't question it so much then.
In reference to later, as you became older and you grew up, began school, and of course the schools were at that time segregated in the city of Petersburg. Did you give any further thought to what you had experienced earlier?
Yes, most definitely. We just didn't ask adults, what was going on. We just thought it was a way of life to go along with the situation was at hand. However, in school, we know are different, and maybe the books we were using may have been used. They weren't brand new books, some were, and a lot of sport equipment was used when we got it. They weren't the best, but we made the best of what we had and created some championships. This was one of the things that I noticed in school life, seemed to have the effect on me.
Did you give any thought to the fact that there may have been some difference between being a student at Peabody High School and what you thought may have been happening at Petersburg High School during that period of time?
Yes, I knew it was a segregation thing. It was there was the Peabody High School and the Petersburg High School, and we had our differences, as a high school. All through graduation, I thought this is the way life was going to be. I didn't question that much about it. But I just tried to adjust my life and go on with it and make the best of what I had to do anyway.
But when you recognize the fact that white students in the city of Petersburg were attending Petersburg High School, and all of the black students were attending Peabody High School as far as the high school education is concerned. Did you give any real thought to why this was happening this way?
Oh yes, most definitely. I know in Peabody School, it was some smart kids, and we weren't any different from anybody else. We had people that made honor roll as well that I guess anybody could do along the way, and if you just separate as children going to different schools, there were different walks down Sycamore Street. As a child, I wanted to be a part of it, to make a difference. However, I wasn't geared in that way to go, but I knew that the set-ins at Woolworths and McClellan downtown were things to make things better for us. But I unfortunately didn't participate, however I did want to do that.
Well, as you mentioned, Sycamore Street and what was happening, particularly on Sycamore Street in the stores, and what we referred to as the five and dime stores at that time, you recognize that there was a difference if you went in the store to spend your money, that there was no problem in the store accepting your money for the merchandise that you were buying. But if you wanted to sit at the lunch counter and eat, you might have been able to buy a hot dog, but you couldn't sit and eat it there. Did you see any problem with that? Did you give any real consideration of why?
Yes, I did. It come across my mind several times. Shopping, like you said, and going there and want to purchase a meal, and not. It wasn't a question of like we have today. Is that to eat here or go? It definitely was to go. That was definitely the fact. It wasn't. You never asked that question. You couldn't eat a meal down Sycamore Street at that time.
Did you at that time? Did you consider that there was a difference between you as a black and whites who were able to sit at that lunch counter and eat?
Yeah, I knew it wasn't a different. I knew it, because in some of these restaurants they had blacks serving and even preparing foods, but yet and still we could not eat there. That bothered me a great deal.
Do you recall the fact that there was a struggle developing, if you will, in terms of trying to make a difference in that situation, those conditions, in reference to the city of Petersburg?
Yes, it was a struggle. I knew there were different meetings tried to make things better for blacks, and they had a lot of mass meeting around town, try to get things equal to all people. And I was aware of all of this going on, and I wanted to be a part of it. I did attend a lot of mass meetings to see this was carried out. And it wasn't a difference as people, black or white. It's just where we were just separated at that time.
Do you recall any of the people, particularly ministers in the city of Petersburg, who were involved and who were making strives to try to cause changes to take place?
Oh yes, my pastor at Zion Baptist Church years ago, R.G. Williams, was greatly involved in the movement, and various other churches around Petersburg. They always got together and had the mass meetings, and this was very inspiration for churches to be involved in situations like this. But I knew one day things were going to get better. I knew because we're going in the right direction.
Do you recall what took place in those mass meetings in terms of the people attending the meetings, and how the people reacted, if you will, to what was being done in those meetings?
Those meetings were well attended. Most of the mass meetings they had were crowd was full to the walls. A lot of concern there. They want to do it in the right way, a peaceful way to make things better for our city. And through the walks and the sit-in, I think it did. It just took patience. People were very excited about doing this in the right manner, a peaceful way.
You mentioned Reverend R.G. Williams, and obviously he was deeply involved. Do you recall the Reverend Y.T. Walker being
Most
part
definitely.
of that process?
Yes, they always walked hand in hand, shoulder to shoulder, trying to make things better for this area. And they proceed. Milton Reed of First Baptist Church, he was also involved in this a great deal. And this unity between the churches, I figure things were going to get better. By the sitting in the mass meeting, and everybody was real excited about what was going on to make things better.
Do you recall the situations, if you will, that developed out of those mass meetings? What did the people do, if you will, as a result of attending those mass meetings?
Well, they discussed different issues of how we were treated, blacks were treated, and they made sit-ins a whole lot better than what it was. They formed sit-ins at Woolworks and W.T. Grant and different other Rucker Rosenstocks, places like that. Or
do you recall that there were a number of people who participated in that?
Yes, most definitely. They normally will march down Sycamore Street and go to one business to another to see the different response. There were some arrests during that time, and fortunately, the people didn't stay in jail that long. They just a short period of time just to put fear in the people not to do it again. But it was a lot of progress done through that.
Did the blacks in Petersburg and the churches, and you've mentioned this, but did they really become involved in terms of the number of people growing and more people becoming involved in the whole struggle, if you will?
Yes. Yeah, so a great number of people were involved in it. However, it could have been much more, but people are just afraid of maybe getting into trouble, so they backed off. But it could have been a much greater number involved in these sit-ins. I think it was a great number that participated along with this deal.
Based on what you've said, would you say that most of the churches in the city of Petersburg at that time really were involved in helping to cause all of this to happen, the changes to begin to take place?
Yes, it was a church. It was the backbone of the church. People had that faith that they could carry on and change the segregation thing that was going on and to make things better for this. Churches had a lot of inspiration in the people that come, and even people that weren't churchgoers was really involved in these situations. They were making them better as people in the city.
Let me go back to the school system situation for a while. We, based on your responses, the school system was segregated.
Yes.
And there were separate schools for blacks and separate schools for whites. In addition to what you've already said, but do you recall any real differences that you remember in terms of what was taking place from maybe an educational point of view as far as the schools were concerned?
Well, schools, During my era, I think that we had very qualified teachers that taught us to the limits. We tried to learn as much as we could. The educational part of it, I thought we were just getting, I knew we were getting better, just as good at education as Petersburg High was. Today we have a lot of students that during that era have gone to high ranks in the society. So there had to be the education we got from Peabody was just as good as anywhere else in the state.
Do you think, do you know whether or not your teachers had the same type of information available to them as the teachers at Petersburg High School might have had?
I think they had good material to work with. During my era, I think that my teachers they did their homework, so they go do their own research and got more material than much as they got. But the material that was issued through the school board, I think maybe would have been inaccurate. But I had real quality. I give my credit to my former teachers I had in high school. They really taught and had interest in the students at all. They take the time after school and carry an extra mile to really make sure that child got the proper education.
Do you recall Martin Luther King coming to the city of Petersburg?
Yes, I do. I recall it. I didn't have the opportunity to actually see him, but I recall it was a really big event. During that era, I probably was, as a young child, I had a little job after school and I didn't get a chance to see a lot of these things that go on, but I did hear of it, and knowing that he was in town, it was a great honor.
Well, as we both know, I'm sure, he was quite involved in the movement,
Yes.
in the
Yes.
struggle. And unfortunately, at a point in time, somewhere around 1968, he was assassinated.
Yes.
How did that affect you as an individual?
It really hurt. It hurt. When I heard about this event happening, it really brought me to a complete standstill. I thought, here is an individual trying to make things better for our people, and somebody has taken them away. How far will this happen to anybody else to come along the way to try to make things better for us? It was a real touching thing. It just feel like a dark cloud just came over my life, all of my surroundings. It was really a hurting thing.
What do you think about the difference, if any, in or between that period of time during the civil rights struggle and what the situation or the conditions are along those same lines as far as Petersburg is concerned?
Well, I think Petersburg has come a long way, and we have a long ways to go. It's a lot of developing things that happen around in the city. We have a lot of blacks in the positions now that weren't in during those days, and trying to make it better. I'm concerned about the young people today, was not focusing on the right thing in life. And I tried to take the time to explain to young people the experience I had, how it was, and I hope that they would pay attention and focus to make themselves better in their dress, in their appearance, their conversation, what they listen to from day to day is very important. And if they knew how hard the struggle was during the 60s and 70s, they would make better citizens of the city. My greatest concern about the children of today.
Do you think there that there are opportunities today that blacks really didn't have during
yes.
the 60s?
Yes, Mr. They can set their goals wherever they want to do. Doctors, lawyers, even now, running for president. So the sky's the limit for children today. They just open up and just focus on the right things in life, set their goals, and pursue them. I think it'd be a great thing if we just get them focused. And we have to show our children the importance of this today before somebody else show them and going in the wrong direction.
Well, then, do you think there's a need to do some different kinds of things, if you will, to bring about maybe more understanding of what really is available for some of those young people that you're talking about, and whether or not there's a need to really, from an adult point of view, to do what needs to be done to help them?
Yes, I think adults are really laying it on the line, let them know exactly what's going on now. They just can't focus on what need to be done. They don't believe that the struggle was that tough when it actually was. And we could just stay focused on them and try to make them believe that this is the right direction in life. There's no other way. They got all the opportunities they ever have. Just go out and do it.
Do you think that the struggle during the 60s then was a situation that really should have made it better for us and did make it better for us in terms of African Americans in the city of Petersburg?
The struggle was a learning experience. I think that it made it better for us. But if we need to just let our young people know that this is the only way to make a better life for themselves. Yes.
Well, Mr. Brown, I really appreciate your taking the time to come and share with us today.
Yes.
And to provide your opinions of what did take place and something about what the needs are
yes.
today. So again, thank you very much for being here, and thank you very much for coming.
Glad to be here. Glad to share the experience.
Thank you.